Well, hello there, friends. Thanks for clicking on this video and joining in on what is a continuing conversation regarding homemade black powder. But before I get into that, I just want to welcome aboard all the new subscribers, and I hope you will give this video a thumbs up and be willing to share it with your bestest of buds. Over the past several days, I've been going through my YouTube channel and looking at the videos that I have created regarding making homemade black powder. And I have to admit, I've learned quite a bit since my first few videos making homemade gunpowder. And in the process of watching those videos, I came across a video that I had done regarding making gunpowder out of maple, hardwood maple. Now, just not too terribly long back, I did a video talking about specific gravities of the woods we choose to make our gunpowders, and are those specific gravities relatable to our burning rates. And that's one thing for myself I'm trying to resolve. And in this video, I've already got the conclusion of it recorded. I'm just doing the introduction now once everything has been completed. We will see that with the much denser charcoal, you're going to get a slower burning gunpowder. And not wanting to say too much because I'm going to probably be stepping over what I said in the conclusion of this video. But when I first started making gunpowder, I was pucking it and screening it. And we've all come to appreciate that that method of making gunpowder is fine. But you're actually creating a very light, less dense gunpowder. And you know, some of us, myself, I've changed my method and gone to a 12-ton jack. I've even tried pucking it twice, and I haven't seen that much of a noticeable difference. For me personally, someone else may have, but bear in mind, I'm only using a 12-ton jack. Okay? And so anyhow, not wanting to stray too far off course, I made another batch of maple gunpowder, and since I'm pucking it and corning it, I was wondering if burn rates would change or densities of the wood would change, and you will see that in this video. So please follow along. At this point, you know, I have some numbers in front of me, but those will be shared toward the end of the video when I start weighing out these gunpowders. And one thing I want to state right here is that if you're using the 77-13 formula, all you're really doing is increasing the amount of oxygen as it relates to the amount of burnable material, which is your charcoal. When you get to the portion of the video, you will see that I've taken those formulas, 77-13 and 75-15, and I do a side-by-side comparison with those volumes. So pay attention to that, and then ask yourself, if you're increasing the oxygen and decreasing the amount of burnable material, are you really changing anything? Now, I will tell you, with the gunpowder made out of the maple, I use the 75-15. And look at the volume in those glass jars, and then ask yourself, is the extra amount of potassium nitrate really going to make the gunpowder burn faster? And you will see that because I do a burn test. So welcome aboard, and I'll do my best to answer any questions in the comment section, but I think for the most part, most of us can probably already figure this out when you look at the visual aids that's been provided. So as you can see, there's my can of maple hardwood getting charred, and just to kind of remain consistent, I have a low fire going, so this maple hardwood is going to char slowly. There seems to be some differing opinions out there about cooking it slow, cooking it fast. I've not really seen any noticeable difference. Some people may. For me, I just have not. But anyhow, that's step one of the process. Okay, so let's take a look and see how we did in the charring of this maple. Well, all in all, that looks like it's charred pretty good. It breaks up, I'm guessing, pretty easy. Oh yeah. Yeah, real easy. So, I guess on to the next step. So just for the sake of those that have not seen how I pulverize my charcoal, I just want to put this in here pretty much momentarily. What I do, and yes, you can use a blender. I don't have one, so I go to plan 13B. Affectionately, 4-inch piece of PVC with a glued on bottom with a removable rubber lid that's designed for a 4-inch PVC. And I put my charcoal in here, and I have a whole bunch of lead round ball on the bottom, and I just fill the tube with as much charcoal as I want to work for the moment, and then just shake the living crap out of it and pulverize it. I'll work at getting some of this done, and I'll show you just how efficient, in my opinion, pulverizing it this way does work. Okay, one thing that I have changed in my process over the years is screening this fine powder twice. This is the charcoal, and I don't know how well you guys can see this, but if you look onto that charcoal, you can see some like little reflective flakes. I really don't know what those are at this time, but that's why I now go ahead and strain my powder twice to get those reflective flakes out of my mixture. Now, at one time in the past, I thought that they were magnetic, and they are not. Yeah, the pan's tin, but I'm not getting anything on the magnet. So that tells me it's not tin burning off from my container. There again, I really don't know what they are, but I go ahead and sift those out just to get them out of my gunpowder. Okay, what we have here is a side-by-side comparison of these two charcoals. The charcoal on the right is 15 grams of that maple, that hardwood maple. On the left is 15 grams of my juniper. So I hope that this will let everybody think in terms of specific gravity. If you start with a wood that's pretty heavy with a specific gravity, it's going to yield less charcoal. Okay? Now, no matter how you change the recipe, this is another point that I want to get at. In the center is 75 grams of potassium nitrate. So the question that I'm going to ask right here is, which of these gunpowders do you think is going to burn quicker and hotter. Let me illustrate real quick. If you walk into a building and there's a closed door and there's smoke billowing out of the bottom of the door, we've all been taught, do not open that door. Because when you do, you're going to introduce a vast amount of oxygen. And that fire is going to erupt. A lot of people like using the word explode, but it's going to erupt. Now, if you look at that source of oxygen, the potassium nitrate, compared to the juniper charcoal, the 15 grams of juniper charcoal on the left, being almost equal amounts, which one, or I should say, do you think that's going to burn very quick? Although we do make it burn quick, yes. But as opposed to the charcoal on the right, which is the maple, we're actually introducing a whole lot more oxygen, volume-wise, to that maple charcoal. Now, when I get it pucked and I get it corned, I'm going to weigh these gunpowders out, because right now I'm of the mind, since the maple is a much denser charcoal, and we can see that observably in these glasses, I'm thinking that when it's all mixed in my scale or on my scales, it should weigh more than the juniper. Stay tuned. Well, I don't know how well the camera can pick up the bottom of it, but she's starting to compact on the bottom. It's been about 21 hours, so I've got another 8-9 hours to go before this really, in my opinion, is ready to go. I know some people would probably think that she's ready to go now, but I just want to remain consistent with the hours involved in compacting this homemade gunpowder. So I'm going to put the lid back on and turn the tumbler back on, and away we go. So not wanting to put too fine of a point in this discussion, the jar on the right is 75 grams of potassium nitrate. The jar on the left is 77 grams of potassium nitrate. Now, just for the sake of argument, none of this potassium nitrate has been put in an oven and dried out even further or dehydrated. I think once somebody does that, you can figure out how much more you need to add to make it equalize either the 77 or the 75%. But if you just kind of, I don't know how well anybody's going to see it, but the 75 grams of potassium nitrate is just at about 1/8 of an inch. And if you look at the other side, let me move this over so we can get it like this. You're just at about 1.25 inches. So you do have quite a bit more by volume of potassium nitrate. I'm going to separate the jars, and as you can already have guessed, I have the charcoal. Okay, let me move these forward. The jar on the right is 15 grams of my juniper. The jar on the left is the 13 grams of juniper. So here's your 75-13 formula, and here's your 75-15 formula. As you look at the jars that are 75-13, you can see that there's almost by volume equals amount. Okay, my point is instead of going 75-13, why not just bring your potassium nitrate level with your charcoal? Because in essence, that's what this is showing right here. So instead of cutting back the amount of charcoal in your formula, why not just raise your potassium nitrate to equal the amount of charcoal? You put these together, and I'm hoping you can all appreciate the point that I'm trying to make here. But you guys can make your gunpowders any way you want. I'm just trying to give you, friends, visual aids into what you're really doing by going 77-13 or 75-15. If you're looking for a much faster, hotter burning gunpowder, then just bring this level, 75, to the same level as your charcoal, and you're doing the same thing visually with your 75-13 formula. I hope this makes sense to your friends. I really do. So just to reiterate a previous point regarding making gunpowder, is I think it's incorrect to test the rate of burn, the speed of burn, by using a blowtorch. Let me just demonstrate. So you would agree that's pretty quick. But look at the amount of flame you have on that pile of gunpowder. Now that was 20 grains of 3F Goex. I'm going to reset the stage. I'm going to take 20 grains of Goex. I'm going to put it on a straight line, and then we'll see how it burns at that point. "20 grains of Goex in a straight line." You would probably agree that's pretty quick. So now I'm going to repeat the same test with the maple gunpowder that I just remade, which is the subject of this entire video. So let me get reset up. Again, a pile of it with a blowtorch. We're all going, wow, that's quick. But let's do the same thing, 20 grains in a straight line. And bear in mind, this is pucked and then ground down to about 2 to 3F. So all things being equal, with that line of GoX that I put on the board, I marked the back edge of it so that when I strung this out in a line, I was able to get it to that same mark on the board. So let me light some matches and we'll see what this does in a line. So obviously we can see that that's a much slower burning powder. So in my opinion, we would, or at least I would, attribute that to a more dense wood with the specific gravity. So I'm going to go into the shop now and I'm going to start weighing some of these and just see how much more heavy this gunpowder is compared to some of the other stuff I've made. Okay, the control is going to be 30 grains of 3F Schutzen. I'm going to transfer that into my measuring device, and then I'm going to put equal amounts of my gunpowder, starting with the maple, and work backwards and show just how much the specific gravity of the woods we're using can affect also the weight. So here's the control. It's at 30 grains with the Schutzen, and it is settled and then leveled off. So I'm going to do the same thing with the maple. I'm going to fill the tube, level it off, top it off, and put it in the scale, and we'll see by comparison how much that actually weighs. So as we can see, by volume, the scale did not come up. So let me adjust the scale and we'll see what that weighs, because I actually want to really compare that to the rest of my gunpowder. So by weight, it's 22.6 grains. Quite a bit of difference. Okay, so let me get readjusted here and go on with the basswood. Okay, with the basswood, it is scaling out at 27.6. That would stand to reason, because with the glass jar tests of this wood, you have much more charcoal than you would with the maple. Okay, so once again, this is 27.6. Now I'm going to go on to the willow. So there's the willow, and we've got just about 25.2, maybe 25.3. As we can see, once again, you have more burnable material volume-wise with the willow than you do, say, with the maple. Refer back to the glass jars and look at the volume and compare that. So there we are with the juniper, 24.1 grains. So there's the barberry, and I'm at 27 grains even. Now granted, I do not glaze my gunpowder, and I'm sure that if I glazed it, well, I could probably get a few more flakes in there. And then again, at the same time, most of my gunpowder is right at the 2,3F, whereas we all should agree that Schutzen or even GoX is a true 3F by today's standard. But there, once again, is this a testament to specific gravities of the wood? Now bear in mind, a couple of the guys out there are pucking their gunpowder with 20-ton jacks. I've even heard of one now looking for a 40-ton jack. That's fine and dandy. Pucking it twice, you know, does it really make that much of a difference? If you scroll back onto this channel, you will see that one of the better shooting gunpowders was the gunpowder that I made from the barberry. But it did produce very dirty gunpowder. I might just have to retest some of this stuff, but for the time being, I'm of the opinion with the maple having a .63 density specific gravity, I would tend to believe it burnt slow because you're burning a heavier charcoal as opposed to the lighter charcoals. All right, well, I guess that's all I have to say about that in this video. When the weather gets a little more conducive to get outside and do some shooting, I will run some tests with that maple in my long gun, my flintlock, and the reason I'm doing it is just simply because the first time I tested the maple, I was actually screening it. All of this is now pucked and corned, and don't think that's really going to make a big difference, but as I've said before, when these powders are in your barrel and you have a round ball on top of them and you compact it, the burn rate will change. It's no different than shooting Pyrodex or any other synthetic gunpowder. You can put that on a block, put a match to it, it'll burn slow, but you put it in your rifle, put it under pressure, and it reacts totally different. So I'm anxious to see if the maple will react different under those circumstances. So thanks for watching, and everybody have a great day. Bye.